Hi, this is Eric Chase, afternoon host on Cumulus Media Toledo's Q105, and your host for 68 Words. Our latest guest is Brian Holohan from the North Cape Yacht Club in LaSalle, Michigan. Brian is the liaison for Spectrum Sailing, which was founded by native Toledoan Scott Herman, who is looking to share his love with his autistic son. Now, sailing camps are held across the country, and Brian is here to talk about the one we just had and some in the area that are coming up.
But once the kids kind of get over that, they get over that initial kind of fright, all of a sudden that sail catches, that wind catches, and you just hear the whoosh of the water. They're like, oh, I like this. And then we can give them what's called grinding, where they're pulling the sails in and they're tailing on the line to bring that sail in and see how the movement happens to the boat. Give them the opportunity to take the tiller on the boat and actually steer it. They're getting control. They're getting confidence. They're building their self-esteem.
People, places, and spaces doing disability differently, sharing first-hand experience in our podcast. Inspired by the 68 words that sparked the disability rights movement, learn where it started and what's next. Hi, my name is Stuart James, and I'm the Executive Director here at the Ability Center, and welcome to 68 Words.
Now we're off and running, or I guess in this case, off and sailing.
Yes.
Brian, good to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
We're here to talk about Spectrum Sailing, something brand new to me. As someone with a bipolar 2 diagnosis, a mental health advocate, I try to encourage people to do what works for them to feel better. My common example is if you want to sit with peanut butter on your ears and it calms you down, don't do it near my dogs. But whatever works for you, don't swap one bad vice for another. When people are just trying to get rid of stress or anxiety, they hear about the trite things, yoga, gym, take a walk. And sometimes we get stuck in that box.
Sure.
I'm guessing many would not consider sailing as an option for kids who have special needs and autism.
It's not the first thing that comes to mind.
Right.
No, it's not usually an opportunity that many people have.
What is Spectrum Sailing?
So Spectrum Sailing is it's a nonprofit organization, and what we're doing is we are hosting sailing, free sailing camps, usually about 3 days, for children who have autism, who otherwise their families or themselves wouldn't able to have the opportunity to get on a boat, learn how to sail, experience the water, which is really something tranquil for, I think, a lot of people. It's for me, it's my happy place. So,
I know that a camp just wrapped up. We're recording here on June 16th. There was a camp earlier this week. There is a camp coming up, and I saw it looks like there is still registration slots available for the one in Holland, Michigan, which is not that far away.
No, that one's coming up. The next one is next week in Chicago, and then the next one would be Michigan. I believe that registration is still open, and we will be bringing this back to Toledo again next year. Great.
How did the organization start? Tell me about Scott.
Scott's an amazing guy. He's down in Charleston, South Carolina, where he's living or has his family. He wanted his kid obviously to get into sailing since he's a sailor himself. And the sail camp, unfortunately, was not able to accommodate his son, who has autism. I think the counselors were just not comfortable, equipped, right?
Sure.
Some people just don't have the skills. They don't have the experience. So Scott said to himself, I'm going to start my own sail camp for my son. And because he has, within his community, knows a couple of the kids that have autism, got these kids sailing, got them on the water. Word got around. Turns out, hey, other people in other cities want to have the same thing. So Scott, a couple of years back, started ramping this thing up. It's really been about 2 years now that he's turned this now into this nonprofit, and he's able to take this on to other cities. They've done about 8 cities this year. We're going to continue to grow that throughout the country and get kids on the water who otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity.
This is quite an operation. There are people who have best laid plans for a great business model and everything, and it doesn't work out. This doesn't sound like this was that. This happened almost by accident, by a father wanting to take care of his son.
Scott's an amazing guy, and so is his family. And what he's doing for the community and for children that have autism and the families is just, those are the people you want to be involved with and you want in your circle in life, right? So again, this wasn't something he's going out and chasing. Yeah, he saw an opportunity with the kind of person he is to help others and to grow this community and the sport, something that he loves.
What's Scott's son's name?
I'm not sure, actually.
Little Scott. Had a chance to meet Scott Jr. Okay.
Scott Jr. I haven't had a chance to meet him yet.
I totally get that a father wants to do everything he can for his son, but you mentioned other people caught wind of this in the community, those who have a child with autism or special needs,
sure.
And they fell in love or a great deal of like with it. What do you think? What do you know? What has Scott passed along of Why do they like it so much? What was the draw?
I'll tell a couple stories. The first one is, again, it's that opportunity. Oh, we're on water. I didn't think sailing was accessible. Some people still have that notion that, oh, you have to be wealthy or, live the high life to be able to get on a boat. That's not true. The sailing community is an unbelievably open community, especially in this area, Lake Erie, in the Midwest. Come on up. We'll get you on a boat. Don't know anything about sailing? We'll get you there. Don't worry. People are open. It's not a snotty community by any means. Even though it has that tag of a yacht club, it's not a yacht club field. It's a sailing community. With the opportunity for these children to get on the water, what Scott has seen, again, what the parents come back and have told him is, oh, look, my kid wouldn't ride a bike. They wouldn't, they were just scared, couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. Got the kid out on the water, got him on a boat, because they're out there, they're taken out of their element. And then they're also, but in a safe environment, right? We do training on the water, but they're getting that independence and they're learning a new skill. So one of the stories Scott loves to tell is that one of these parents came to him and said, after the sail camp, my kid got home, got on the bike, and is riding their bike now. And they're just equating that to sailing because the kids built some confidence in them, gave them the skill set, something that they didn't think they could do before, rolled over to the other elements in their life.
What is it about being out on the water? Obviously, out of the comfort zone is one thing. Is there something about the water where it just seems almost endless, and it brings a level of peace that some of these kids are unable to, a peace or focus that they can't attain when they go to a park or something like that? It's just them and the water and whatever their imagination kind of settles with them?
Yeah, I think so. So some of it too is sailing can be scary, right? The sails are making a lot of noise, they're flapping, the boat's heeling, it's going back and forth, it's wobbly. But once the kids kind of get over that, they get over that initial kind of fright, they all of a sudden that sail catches, that wind catches, and you just hear the whoosh of the water, and it's very calming and relaxing. I think that was a really big element that happens with these kids. And again, they're oh, I like this. And then we can give them what's called grinding, where they're pulling the sails in, and they're tailing on the line to bring that sail in and seeing how the movement happens to the boat, give them the opportunity to take the tiller on the boat and actually steer it. They're feeling that. I'm driving this thing. I'm making this thing move. I push it, the boat does that. I pull it, the boat does that. They're getting control. They're getting confidence. They're building their self-esteem. It makes them just happy. Again, when you're out there on the water, I think water for anybody, people love the water. Water gives a calming element. It's that whole beach life too, right? Just aside from the whole Margaritaville kind of thing about
Sure.
island life, it gives a sense of peace and calming, and that's I think sailing also brings to people.
Maybe it feeling like it's too far off for some people, just the snooty crowd, the yacht club crowd, where it's not as accessible as some people think, even though you do say otherwise. Not every kid can just jump out of the house and ride on their bike like they do, or you jump on a boat. Maybe because it is so unique and so different, it is such a great elixir for these kids where, as we started off saying, hey, you're not feeling well or stressed, anxious, go take a walk, go to the metro parks, ride a bike, have a workout.
Sure.
But a lot of that stuff doesn't work for everybody. They need something a little bit different. They're sitting with the peanut butter on their ears like my dogs. Right. And maybe this is the perfect elixir for a lot of these kids, and it's got to be because of how quickly this operation has just blown up. I saw that there's a lottery for the registration.
Yeah, there's a lottery. So, because again, we've got kids coming in. What we tried to do this year because of the lottery, we can only take 10 kids in the morning, 10 kids in the afternoon. So we get 20 kids for the camp. We were offering them to come up and have a beach day up at the club as well. So the families come up, the kids still get on the water, see the water, get on a spectator boat, see what sailing's all about. We could still get them on one of the bigger boats. I guess we call them yachts, but boats that are like 28, 20, 30, 40 feet. Get them on the water, still see what a sailboat is and function. That's kind of, and be part of that community. So again, the club also does offer adult learn to sail programs too. So if the parents wanted to get up there, get involved, then it comes with a free 3-month membership to again come and explore what club life is like and being a part of the yacht club and get on a sailboat. And people are very open, and again, I think that's part of this. Why we did Spectrum Sailing with North Cape Yacht Club is knowing. I think parents sometimes struggle. Can I take my kid here? Are people going to be accepting? If my kid has a meltdown, or if there's, again, peanut butter on the ears, they're not going to look at them funny. that we're not going to do that, and that's
Sure.
that this club is open, and that we offer those things. And nobody thinks anything different.
This is the first time I'm hearing of this, and I like to think I'm pretty wired in. Tell me more about the stigma of trying to get over that, to let everybody know. Did you say North Cape Yacht Club?
Yeah, North Cape Yacht Club.
What is getting over the stigma, to let people know, to get the word out that people are welcome to take advantage of this? You don't have to have a 6-figure salary to be here.
We are a sailing club. North Cape exists to promote the sport of sailing. That is our whole mission. And so again, we allow people to come up. We take people sailing. We do Wednesday night race nights. We do Friday night fun sail races where there's kind of no rules. We do sometimes other ones where you got to sail to certain points and collect things from another boat. So there's a whole fun element to it as well. And I think that people can, look us up. Again, there's a website, Facebook, Instagram for North Cape. But send an email, give a phone call, reach out to me personally, and I'll get you connected with somebody up at the club and get you out there.
Where's the physical club at?
So ironically, it's actually in Michigan.
Okay.
It's exit 9 off 75 North LaSalle Road, and it's over by Toledo Beach Marina, which most people I think might have heard of or been familiar with, just north of Luna Pier.
Sure. So is that you're part of the yacht club, and Scott tracked you down and the North Cape Yacht Club?
Part of the sailing community, and sailing, once you get into it, it's amazing. You have friends all over the country. Sailing is a very tight-knit group of people. That's what I was trying to emphasize, is the friendliness. I can walk into any other club somewhere and probably know somebody, or say, hey, I want to go sailing today. So I'll be like, yeah, sure, up in my boat. And that's kind of what it is. I didn't know Scott before, but he met somebody that I knew, and they had mentioned this program, and they knew my background with special needs as a former special ed teacher. And they said, hey, do you want to talk to Brian? Called me up. I was like, yeah, sure, let's do this. So this sounds like a great program.
Tell me more about your background working with special needs kids and what drew you to that.
I was a special education teacher for a number of years. I started the Maritime Academy downtown, actually.
Very familiar with it.
Yeah, was down there years ago. It was a great program. I had the opportunity to go overseas, though, so I ended up leaving and went overseas. And what I was doing was building special ed programs for international schools around the world, as they were kind of laxing in that. This was a number of years ago now, as I'm dating myself. But I did that for about 10, 12 years. And that's always been my passion, and it was time to come back to the U.S. after a while. So it's kind of made a career pivot, but now keeping the special needs aspect in my life is very important.
What was the initial draw to special needs? Is there a personal anecdote or story connection in your life, yourself personally?
I'm not sure. Again, I'm out of date. I'm not sure if the special needs is still used or not. I know with the whole PC world, I'm sorry if I offend anybody.
No. I can soften those blows. And again, that's one of the things why we do this podcast, to normalize things, to educate people, so we're using the right phrases, words, and
of course.
Yeah, so tell me your background with that.
My degree is I was an intervention specialist, mild to moderate disabilities. I actually grew up with severe ADHD. So I actually went to a school that was no longer here. It's called Mary Immaculate. It was a school for kids with, learning disabilities, as we referred to them back then. I'm lifelong friends with a lot of those kids still today. And I think as I grew up, I learned how to cope with my issues and things I needed to do in order to focus, and it's still hard to this day, but I've learned, and I've always kept in touch with some of the students after I got into the degree, and it just kind of spoke to me. I actually started in business, hated it, went to undeclared or something, and then got into the special needs classes in university, as it was again referred to back then, and I just loved it. Again, the adaptability. Here's a math problem. Figure out how to teach it 3 different ways. Cool. I like that. I like that challenge. So that's what I went on to do, and I really enjoyed it.
To go back to when you were younger, what were some of your coping strategies when you got the diagnosis, or reflect back knowing that these were the symptoms?
Reflecting back, I hate to say this, but there's probably some things that were done wrong. Again, they give you extra time. Well, as a kid with severe ADHD, time is my enemy. So it would have been better to have chunked things, which then I figured out myself. I'm like, okay, I could do this for 5 minutes. I'm going to go run around the building, and I'm going to come back and do this for 10 minutes. I'm going to go, and start chunking pieces together. And that's what I did. But when I was in school, it was all nuns that were the teachers, and they were fantastic about, again, working with you. Just, okay, let's break this apart. Let's chunk this. Let's do these things. I think that was part of the coping things, and that's what I still do now. Is I have to make checklists in short ones. If I have a huge list, I'll break it apart and I'll be like, this number 2, number 2, number 3. I'll get to those. What's the priority? Get to these. Check them off. Yeah.
I always encourage it. It's almost like we've formed a societal ADHD, mostly because of our phones. I think everybody's got it a little bit in them, and I always encourage, because I fell prey to this when I got to a certain point in my career. I was like, oh, I can remember to do everything. But then I realized I couldn't. I was forgetting things. There was just too much going on. It was a torrent of things. Then I started making lists, and I regretted it. I regretted not doing it sooner. And now one of the basic things I throw at people is make a list. I know you think you can remember, but you can. Lists are really important. And then I'm sure you prioritize them, whether you use colors or got to get this done first. Yeah.
Colors is huge.
Tell me, to go back to sailing, what is a day in the camp like for the kids? And you talked about how it's not just a level of peace or focus, there's a physical aspect to it as well.
Sure. So the first day, kids start off in kind of a classroom setting. So again, we have a big whiteboard. We're teaching them what wind looks like. So it's kind of hard
what wind looks like?
Right, exactly. So that's hard, obviously, for anybody to visualize, but we kind of draw that out, and that gives them an idea, and we re-explain it to them. So it's like there's pizza. There's a circle, it's a pizza.
Okay.
Right? What's the stuff you hate on a pizza? Okay, that's where you don't want to be. You don't want the boat to point that way.
Okay.
So what do you really like? So, okay, you're going to keep it here in these 2 or 3 or 4 slices. That's where the stuff you really like, and that's the point of the boat. Okay.
Got it.
Right, the rest of this pizza is bad. They learn knot tying, basic knot tying, with some lines. We go over terminology of the boat, so they understand. Hey, this is high side, low slide, tacking, jabbing, turning, sails. What the parts of the boat are. Then we get them out on the water, and what we've been using about what they're called J24s. It's a big boat. We can get about 6 to 8 people on it. And we get them on the water, make sure they're comfortable. Everybody's in life jackets, understanding water safety, boat safety, all of that. And then, but we try to get them out on the water right away.
And there's a physical aspect to it, because I'm sure some of this, they might not expect this. I'm guessing it's a bit of a workout for some kids, some human beings who do this, right?
Sure, yeah.
Especially on a crazy day of weather. Not like yesterday, but when it's a windier day than others, you're fighting not just, I guess, the boat, but the weather out in the water.
Yeah, absolutely. So luckily this week we had calm seas and stiff winds, which was awesome.
Did you were doing special needs? That was your interest in education. Was there a sailing or maritime interest before the school, or did the school create more of that interest and get you to where you are now?
I always had a maritime interest. I got into sailing from an old friend, Brittany Lashway. She came up to me like freshman year of high school and said, hey, you want to go sailing? I said, absolutely. So that's how I ended up at North Cape. And I had sailed before that. I had gone, sailing at camp and things. So when I graduated college and I found out about maritime school, I was like, oh, that's right up my alley.
Sure.
With anything that has to do with the water, and then being able to, work with their special needs department and help them put together a couple of programs was great. So I think when we got to finding this element and then working with Scott to put a program like this together was just, magic in the making.
How often does Scott come into? Sorry, the lights went off.
No
this
problem.
happens 11 minutes or so in every podcast. Does Scott show up? What's Scott like as someone who created this operation? Does he come to the camps?
Oh, absolutely.
Tell me a little bit more about Scott, what he does when he shows up at camp day.
Yeah, he's at all of them. So he comes in, he's organizing everything. This is his baby. He's put this together. He's making this into what it is. Comes in, we get the kids together. All the kids get a shirt, a Spectrum Sailing shirt. We work with the yacht club. So like when he was working with me, when we were calling different places, it's okay, I need this, this, and this to make this thing go off. So we get everything together, volunteers. First day is actually Monday, where all the volunteers go through what's referred to as neurological training for understanding, if they haven't worked with children with autism, what to expect. If any of the kids need some physical disabilities, some kids have more severe autism than others. Some, like you said, some need headphones, some,
sure.
It's a touch thing, some it's feel thing.
The spectrum
sound,
is
total spectrum,
limitless colors. Yeah,
exactly. So again, everybody goes through that. Scott gets everybody through it, works with the kids, makes sure all the kids are comfortable, that we understand their needs, and makes the camp happen.
What is the future of Spectrum Sailing? More camps, more places around the country and the world?
I think, again, like the spectrum, it is endless. I think we could make this thing happen. Whether Scott could attend all the camps once this thing really blows up, which I don't see why it wouldn't, we could make this into a really good nonprofit organization that we are able to, again, with anything, it's sponsorship, right?
Sure.
You need that. So if anybody's listening, they're from the Libby family. But that's the big thing is, but it's I think putting money towards something like this where you're changing lives, you're changing the community, you're opening up something to people that wouldn't have the opportunity otherwise. That's where you want to, if you're going to donate to something like that.
Sure.
And of course, but for us, it's a volunteer based, but it's getting the boats out there and helping to create the training for the volunteers, T-shirts, things like that, and travel for Scott.
So continually looking for volunteers, yeah?
Yeah, well, at each club. But again, if we can do this every year and then get this going at all the yacht clubs around the country, this could be an absolute great thing. How
often are the camps here or in this area that might be drivable for Northwest Ohio people or Southeast Michigan people?
Right now, this is brand new. This is our first time doing it up here, the first year. So we're going to see how this grows, but I don't see why I wouldn't be able to do this again. There's obviously a control issue. You don't want this thing to balloon and get away from you too much. So we'll scale slowly. We'll talk with Scott. Sorry, I'm talking on Scott's behalf on some of this, but that's kind of my vision as a business person as well. I see how these things can go. But I know he wants to do like Cleveland, Toledo, Chicago, kind of have a line because he wants to be involved. He likes being there. He loves sailing with the kids and watching their transition, watching the kids' transformation and their confidence level build. That's a huge part for him and his family as well. So we'll see.
Can you give me a story of an observation that you noticed this week? Maybe it was just simply a look on a kid's face when they touched something on the boat or they made a knot. And are the parents there as well?
Parents are there, yeah. We have a spectator boat that parents can go out on. So they're separated enough, right?
Can you give me a story from this week that shows Spectrum Sailing in action?
Oh, man, there was a few kids and they were... I'll put it this way. I'll use the group as a whole. A few of the kids were a little nervous first day. We had some weather. Again, they're getting used to the sound of the sails flapping and the boat, how it moves and heels and things. A couple of kids get out there. They're like, I want to come in. So we bring them in, let them have a break, give them an ease. By the third day, they're like, I want to get on. When are we getting on the boat? And they didn't want to come in. So,
great.
And part of that, I think, is just to see the smiles on their faces, and the friends that they make while they're at camp too, and learning with others is. Yeah.
Hopefully we can connect again and you will have heard some more stories of positive outcomes from the camp. Like you mentioned, the kids riding their bikes or just doing other activities that they weren't accustomed to because, hey, not everybody's got to do the same thing to enjoy themselves or to get outside of their comfort zone. SpectrumSailing.org. Tell me last couple of things about North Cape Yacht Club. Sounds like you welcome everyone. How can everyone, the community at large, get involved if they'd like to?
You can hop on we have a website and a Facebook group. You can reach out to us very easily. There's an email. I can't tell you what the email is right offhand. I apologize, but you can get a hold of me. I'll give you my contact information. You can reach out to me directly, cell phone, email, or again, contact the club. We do have a club phone number and a club email where we'll happily reach out to you. And there's, again, Adult Learn to Sail. And we do offer sail camp as well. Spectrum Sailing is new. I am sure in the 40 years that we've been doing sail camp, at North Cape, we've had kids come through with autism, with something else that, again, just either undiagnosed or the parents just didn't sell us because there's no reason to, right? Kid's a kid. So
maybe that kid is now an adult and they have overcome things that weren't diagnosed because they fell in love with this.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. Louisiana, down there, what city? New Orleans club has done Spectrum Sailing. And they're obviously, because they're on the water, on the ocean, and they've got a lot of water, they've got a huge sailing program down there. They've actually sent 4 kids on the Olympics, or the Special Olympics, to compete in sailing.
Excellent. Yeah, it is. Sailing is an Olympic sport, is it not?
Yeah.
Last couple of questions. We can do the fun things, and we'll get all the information. We'll throw that in the podcast link so people can connect. I want to connect a little bit more as well. what is a good first couple of sailing tips, or this might be for you if, or this is not for you if?
If you get seasick, don't
That's not something you can overcome?
Right. No, that's a little difficult to overcome.
Okay.
It's doable, but it's
How about if
a rough road.
If you do like this, sailing might be for you.
If you like independence, if you like learning something new that is challenging outside your realm, if you've always dreamed about being on the water or just always enjoyed boating, this is definitely for you. If you've, I guess, part of it for me, there's two aspects. So there's big boating, which we do, which I love. It's just, you go out there, it's peaceful. But there's also a competitive aspect to it. So there's leisure sailing and competitive sailing. And then there's sort of competitive sailing, like what we do on Wednesdays, where it's like, have a few drinks, we're having fun.
Like people who go play golf, but it's really drinking while they take some swings.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Got it.
So even, for instance, this week, the Monroe, I want to do a shout out to the Monroe County Sheriff, brought their boat over for Spectrum Sailing so the kids could get on one of the sheriff's boats. The U.S. Coast Guard came out with their boat and their cadets and talked with the kids about boat safety, let the kids get on their boat. It was awesome. They loved it. And to the Mud Hens, Muddy the Mud Hen came up, and we actually got Muddy out on a sailboat, so we've got pictures of him driving out on the. So if we can get Muddy the Mud Hen out there driving a sailboat, we can get you out there.
Yeah, I'm happy to come. Although I don't have, would it be aquaphobia? Is that the fear of water?
I think so. Sure.
I do have a fear of heights. I don't want to jump out. Any time somebody says you want to jump out of a plane, I'm like, no, not particularly.
That's why they're doors.
I'm not afraid of water, but I've seen enough movies where I know that water is scarier than people give it credit for.
Yeah, it can be. It'll get good pick up, but we keep our heads about us. If it's too rough, we don't go out. What's
a water movie that resonates with you?
For me?
That maybe you like it a lot because it represents sailing well, or you're like, this is complete and total BS. This would never actually happen.
Captain Ron. That takes me back.
What's Captain Ron?
Captain Ron. Oh, God.
Refresh my memory.
It was Martin Short and...
Okay. Steve Martin?
He wasn't in that one. No, he inherits a boat, a huge boat, and has to go down and see the Caribbean and sail it, and makes his family go with him. And the family just obviously ends up hated it at first, and then just gets into sailing and really it hits those aspects where all of a sudden the wind hits the sail, the engine's off, and all you hear is the water, and it does those. It's a great movie.
I loosely remember it was an 80s movie, yeah?
Yeah, 80s, early 90s.
Ever since I watched Open Water, I've looked at water completely different. Are you familiar with that movie?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, the people get miscounted on a tropical vacation, right, and the boat takes off, and they're just there in the water for 2 hours, letting things peck and eat at them. Yep. What's the big sailing website that sailing wonks go to, and what's the big sailing podcast?
Oh, man. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't have an answer.
Okay, that's fine. Last question then. Do you like seafood?
I love it.
Okay, good.
100%.
Seafood tips, especially for people who don't like seafood. I eat what I guess would be called like whitefish. Okay. I don't get real adventurous. I don't want any shellfish or anything like that, but I never go to it. So what's a good tip for people who might not like seafood, but you could get them into it?
Ooh, try Kango's.
Try what?
Kango's downtown.
Like downtown?
Yeah. He's excellent. It's nothing like you've ever eaten. He's phenomenal.
There are some exotic. Kango's a friend of mine. I used to live above that building.
Okay.
I would never do the omakase. And when I think of that stuff, that's not your traditional fish. That might not be a good starter for somebody.
Yeah, that's true.
So just go get some tuna.
I don't know. See, the regular fish for me, that gives you the fishy smell. That's why I like the kind of, I don't want to say higher end stuff, but the stuff that's a little fancier. It's nicer. It doesn't get a fish smell. A friend of mine is an exotic eater. He went to a place, or he goes to a place, and you'll likely know this, it's right over the border in Michigan, and he came back with something that resembled octopus. Are you familiar with this place where he's buying these exotic seafood items? I want to.
Yeah, I'll ask him what it is. Brian Holohan, I said the last name right?
Yes.
Right? Awesome. Good to meet you. Thanks for coming on 68 Words.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
This is Chief Armstrong with Toledo Fire and Rescue. 68 Words has been a production of the Ability Center, hosted by Cumulus Media's Eric Chase. Engineering provided by Will Mellon and executive produced by Mallory Crooks. If you, your group, organization, or business is interested in hosting a disability awareness experience or have other inquiries, please contact info@abilitycenter.org. Until next time, think differently.